Hi, and welcome to another edition of Trident Talks. I'm Michael Druckman, founder and managing director of Trident Forward, and today I'm joined by Oleksandr Melnyk, partner and head of corporate transactions and mergers and acquisitions with GOLAW, one of Ukraine's premier international law firms. Today we're going to be
Mm.
discussing issues around energy, natural resources, and developments in the critical mineral space. Alexander, thank you for joining us today.
Thank you to Trident for this opportunity. I'm very happy to share my expertise and hope that it will be interesting for our viewers.
Well, let's dive right in then, because I know many of our viewers are familiar in general with what's going on in Ukraine geopolitically, particularly interest around Ukraine's natural resources. So let's talk real practicalities. I mean, what really makes Ukraine's natural resources and energy sector unique?
Well, I think that it is a combination of factors because we can start with geography. Ukraine has very good location. It's not only in terms of geology, but also logistics potential and nature in general. And of course, Ukraine has huge potential in national resources and energy because of war. Uh, for example, if we talk about natural resources, we should know that Ukraine has more than 20,000 deposits and occurrences of 117 out of 120 known worldwide types of raw materials. So basically, we have everything. And before the war started, there were a lot of extraction, beneficiation, processing enterprises. Currently, of course, because of occupation and because of constant strikes, it dropped. But from other hand, it gives opportunity for the new developments. As to the energy sector, if we speak about electricity, Ukraine had historically very strong energy sector encompassing the oil and gas, hydropower, electricity, coal and nuclear industries. Energy plays significant role in economy itself because it's roughly about 8% of our Ukraine's GDP and place in Ukraine among top 30 countries by energy consumption. And also in 2023, Ukraine has adopted its energy strategy until 2050 and anticipated investment opportunities in energy only amounts roughly almost 400 billion US dollars. So that is why I think it is unique.
No, clearly very unique
Situation.
and a lot of opportunities. How beyond the headlines of Russia's, criminal attacks on Ukraine's energy network, ongoing since the beginning of this full-scale invasion, how has that impacted, let's say, the investment landscape? Where do we stand now?
Well, so in general, I would say that again, I think that from one hand, of course, war caused enormous damages, but from other hand, it opened new opportunities for not only renovating or uh, resurrecting what was damaged, but also reshaping the sector and
Mhm.
building back better. So in terms of natural resources, of course, like in general, the economy, the whole sector suffered severe losses in 2022, and it was dropped for about 30% from the industry of extractive industry in general. In 2023-24, partial recovery began, but 2025 brings again new challenges, declining in extraction volumes and so on. For example, Mariupol was one of the places for metallurgy in Ukraine, and it is occupied. As to the energy, also Ukraine became from one of the biggest exporter of electricity in Europe to the country which now requires import of electricity because the estimated electricity shortfall within, for example, last year winter season was about 6 gigawatts of energy. and practically Ukraine lost roughly around 50% of electricity generation capacity. It was either destroyed or occupied. And nevertheless, currently we see that a lot of new projects are being developed, and unfortunately, but war helps Ukraine to renewables rollout and become climate neutral in nearest future.
And these are all things that are going to continue to assist with Ukraine's fast track into the European Union and its integration into those markets as well. Maybe you could speak, Oleksandr, a bit about how the regulatory framework governing Ukraine's natural resources in the energy sector have evolved over the years. Ukraine continues to reform and innovate even during wartime. What have those changes? What are those
Mhm.
changes that have taken place, and how does that look from your perspective?
I think that our government done a lot and managed to do good things for foreign investors in particular. So if we speak about natural resource sector, a priority of subsoil use reform was the development of a new legislation aligned with EU laws and global best practices. So for this implementation, there was a reform of State Service of Geology and Subsoil of Ukraine, and in general, it is very positive. Also, key reforms throughout this period, starting from 2022, is introduction of new mandatory electronic auctions for obtainment subsoil use license, which eliminates corruption, of course. And there was public access provided to geological data, but due to the war, it's closed again. However, once the war will be over, it will be restored. Also, the streamline of environmental impact assessment was eased, which provides for more straightforward process in this sphere. If we speak about renewables, the government made even more reforms here. So, for example, we get the simplified permitting procedures. We got the tax reliefs for import of energy equipment. Corporate PPAs were introduced, which allowed for direct sale and purchase of electricity. Guarantees of origin were introduced, which again provides new opportunities for producers and for businesses to be green. Cable pooling mechanism, export of biomethane was unlocked. Again, integration with EU system ENTSO-E and implementation of REMIT. All of this stimulate in general investment to renewables. And in general, for business, notwithstanding the exact sector, Ukraine provides very interesting opportunities, for example, for big investments. 12 or more million euro investments can benefit from beneficial taxation, reliefs from import duties, and so on, under the special programs for great investment projects. So basically, I see a very good and positive trend in terms of developing new regulations in this.
Well, certainly that's important right now in that context, Oleksandr. With obviously last year the announcement of the U.S. Ukraine Reconstruction and Investment Fund, the critical minerals deal, and so obviously there's a lot of interest in that being a sector that here in Washington they're looking for some initial deals and building out momentum in that sector, in the energy sector, in the subsoil sector, before expanding into others. But what are some of the subsectors within Ukraine's natural resources and energy sector currently that you feel offer some of the highest investment potential, and why?
Well, highest investment potential, I believe renewables have the highest one, because Ukraine has, again, some of the best conditions for renewable energy in Europe. We have both potential for wind and good insolation, so the potential for solar. For example, wind resource exceeds 70 gigawatts of potential generation, and from 15 to 20 gigawatts can be developed within several years for the most commercial and commercially viable in short-term or medium-term perspective. So solar, wind, biomass, emerging hydrogen technologies are being developed. We have very good opportunities for storage, and if especially now when we are suffering from targeted attacks on energy system in general, business is looking for distributed generation and looking for to be independent from the central energy grid and so on. So currently we have rising demand in this, and just a very interesting statistic that in 2025 there was, I believe, roughly from 80 to 100 billion hryvnias in pending applications for loans for development of renewable projects, which means that we have a lot of projects to be developed, but financing is the issue. And extractive industry also has huge potential. As I mentioned, we have almost all minerals that are practically available in the world. So basically, we have everything here. It includes iron ore, it includes titanium, also cobalt and nickel deposits. Also, we have gold, gas, oil, everything practically you need. So these two sectors are the most prominent from my point of view.
Well, certainly with Ukraine's decentralized governance and those reforms that were carried out following the Euromaidan revolution, the last almost 10 years now, the amount of responsibility and accountability and opportunity at the local level when it comes to decentralized grids, battery storage. I think there are a lot of interesting synergies there with advancing US technology and European technology in that area. Obviously, there's great demand for it. What are some of the practical market entry routes then, from your perspective, into Ukraine's energy sector?
Okay, practical. Well, we need to divide because routes for market entry for renewables or energy in general is completely different from what is in subsoil use, for example. If we speak about subsoil use, there are several options you can use. First of all, it is participating in auctions for subsoil use license. As I mentioned, it is electronic open auction, so everybody can attend. Of course, there are some requirements as to the deposit payment and so on, but in general, it's pretty open, and it is conducted once per quarter, I believe. So our geology service of Ukraine gathers all the opportunities and places it on the Prozoro sale platform. Another type of investment which you can seek, it is participating in product sharing agreements. One party here will be Ukraine, a government represented by some authority. From other, it will be you as a private investor. So the government authorizes you for a defined period to carry out prospecting, exploration, extraction of minerals within a designated subsoil area. In turn, you benefit from sharing the profits from sale of extractives. Such agreements are usually concluded for long term, from 30 to 50 years, and provide investors with long-term stability. Of course, to conclude this PSA, there is a need to get a government decision, so it's not that straightforward and easy, but it is doable. Also, another track, of course, it's acquisition of acting company which holds a subsoil use permit, or find a partner, a local partner who, for example, already has this permit. So you will like provide your investment in turns according to joint venture agreement, you will benefit from sales. And the last one here is privatization of state-owned mining assets. So there are a lot of not that much, but a lot of different opportunities. So it's a option to purchase the existing asset with sometimes with necessary licenses and permits and develop it as a brownfield project. As to the energy sector, it differs. So the best way here is just to uh, purchase, to acquire an existing uh, power plant or buy it on the ready-to-build stage. Because, of course, you can develop from scratch, but it will may take more 1 or 2 years more for you to develop because Ukraine has like special regulatory peculiarities which shall be considered
Mhm.
while entering market. So our clients usually purchase projects on the ready-to-build stage when the project has necessary permits, grid connection, technical conditions, and project design documentation. You just buy the company and import the necessary equipment and install it. So it's, I believe, the best way
That
to
makes a
enter
lot of
this
sense.
market.
Makes a lot of sense. I mean, are there any other key legal or regulatory risks that investors should be aware of? I mean, obviously, you've discussed kind of what are some of the best case options in terms of bundling a lot of these licenses and permits that have already been done and purchasing that basically. But are there any other key regulatory insights that investors should be aware of before entering the Ukrainian natural resources or energy sector? You could take them either or.
Well, I wouldn't say that it is some other special. In general, each investor shall look at basically three main risk buckets. First, it's of course title, documents, and permitting risks. So check validity and transferability of subsoil special permits or product sharing agreement. Uh, Check how the property is structured. Then another bucket is market and competition rules. For example, electricity and market and as well as natural resources. Most probably, in terms of purchasing, you will require merger acquisition, merger control, and merger clearance, which is often omissed. Also, Ukraine is now introducing the foreign direct investment screening procedures, which will be in place, and of course, for these critical spheres will apply. And the third most important is land, infrastructure rights, environmental impact assessment, necessary approvals. So you need to make sure that you have access to the asset. All the necessary rights are secured for long term or in the property. It's, I believe, the core issues which need to be checked from the legal perspective, and of course, technical is not less important than legal also.
No, absolutely. That's why it's important to have people on the ground actually looking at these things, looking at documents, looking at the site, facilities. Uh, you can't just phone this in. I know we'll return to this topic in a future discussion, but if we could just look at, building off of that, what are some of the most common mistakes uh, that you've seen investors make when entering, let's say, Ukraine's energy or natural resources market?
So first mistake and that foreign investors make, they
Yes.
disregard or don't understand the culture of Ukrainian business in general, and disregard, ignore local rules. Because, for example, if we speak about any construction, Ukrainian rules are completely different from what is in other countries. So when coming to Ukraine for implementing any project, you need to have local technical advisors. Uh, Also, another problem is chasing the license, not the real rights. So license don't secure everything for you. It doesn't secure clean title or necessary rights, access to roads and so on. So you need to check everything. Also, underestimating timelines is a very big problem. So all these processes, for example, for obtaining permits, grid connection, environmental impact assessment, they are not happening within 1 month. So you need to plan ahead for 1 to 2 years in implementing projects, and it shall be considered. And one also of the common mistakes is overlooking of anti-monopoly merger clearance. So purchase of integrity complex, for example, you buy some energy facility, or you purchase in a company which holds licenses. Most probably, in 90% of cases, you will need authorization from Anti-Monopoly Committee of Ukraine. And from practice, we see that a lot of investors, they simply do not look at this. And further on, it results in fines up to 5% from the turnover of the whole group, which is pretty essential.
Yeah.
So it's like, from my perspective as a lawyer, but of course, I think that a lot of technical issues also arise.
Well, as you point out, Ukraine does have a robust regulatory environment, but it's laid out, it's known. And so there's really no reason, if you're taking the proper due diligence steps, to not know about these regulations and go through those processes.
Yeah.
So I think that's a very important element and something that GOLAW brings to the table with international investors. Just building off of that, then why in the current moment right now, why is it so strategically important then for foreign investors to really be considering entry into these sectors?
Well, I am constantly visiting a lot of different conferences and talk to potential foreign investors. Everybody wants to invest to Ukraine, but everybody say that, but we will wait until the war ends. And from my perspective, and from what we see, only now you have the window of opportunity. Once the war will be over, there will no be places practically to invest in, especially in such sector as energy and natural resources. So, for example, our clients, foreign investors who were in Ukraine before the war started, they are constantly expanding. They purchasing and investing in new projects, while other investors who weren't in Ukraine before the war, they are very cautious and they will not make it simply. Also, why a window of opportunity now is because we have very, very significant demand for reconstruction and modernization of the energy sector in general. So again, it's not only about targeting by Russia of our energy infrastructure, but also in general, business evolves. And currently, approximately for the short-term perspective, we need at least from 70 to 100 billion US dollars in investment only in energy infrastructure. It's the big piece of money which investors may get. Again, currently a lot of international financial organizations, they are supporting Ukraine and provides different programs for war risk insurance, guarantees, financing grants, and so on. Government promotes investment policy, develops new and new mechanisms. We are not sure that it will remain after the war. So once again, the time for investment is now. If you want to be first after the war ends and win the competition, you need to think about investment now, right now.
No, absolutely. And you make a good point about, foreseeing that future political risk and taking advantage of what we know right now with the current composition of Ukraine's government and the agenda and reform agenda that's been set forward. In a few years, this will all shift potentially. Oleksandr, thank you so much for joining us today and for providing so much not just context, but also the experience of yourself, your team, and the work that GOLAW is doing to support successful international investment into Ukraine. Thank you.
Well, Michael, thank you very much. I believe that it is very important to shed some light on how it's going in Ukraine because Ukraine is a pretty big country, and foreign investors need to understand that the war is not going on the whole territory, and some Western Central regions are pretty safe, and a lot of opportunities, especially in subsoil use, are located in Western regions of Ukraine. So we are welcome everybody to ask any questions, comment here. We'll be happy to respond.
Wonderful. And we look forward to continuing the conversation in some of these other sectors and industries. Thank you for your time, Oleksandr.
Thank you. Thank you very much.